Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I always feel so silly when I say that. Anyway, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. I made these little, now I think they're called like crisp packets or chip packets or something. I cannot remember what they're called, and I actually can't find the tutorial for the lady who made them because I cannot remember who I saw these off. But if I do find it, I will link it down below. She made some little things like this that I made ages ago, and when I was watching an unboxing of some mail that I sent to Faithy, I saw one of these that I'd made, and I was like, oh, I totally want to make that again because I think they're a really cute idea for packaging up little flat ephemera or little bit sharing die cuts that you have, or some printables or something just flat, and then you can stick them closed, and then there's like a little peeky window. And the other ones I made just had a plain window, but you know, I've got to add sequins to everything, so here we go. So I made these two, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So for this size one here, I'll just pop these over here. You need a piece of paper, or I used a piece of paper which is 5 3/4 inches tall and 8 1/4 inches long. And you need to score that at, I've only got my little mini one here, so you need to score it at 2.5. And because my board is so little, I have to fold that over. And then you need to score it at 6.5. But doing it this way, you need to score again at 4 if you fold that in, because your front panel is going to be 4 inches wide by 5 3/4 inches tall. So there is that all scored, ready to go. So you can just pop your scoreboard away. You will need it again in a minute. Okay, and so what you need to do next, if you want to make this little window in the front, you could make any shape. I'm just making a circle because I like circles, but you could make it whatever you want. So you need to fold it over. Well, you don't need to, you can do it from the front. This is just how I do it. I feel really bossy when I say you have to do this. Okay, sorry. I'm just going to put that aside. So I am using a circle to cut my circle, a circle die to cut my circle, and that's just one of these dies from this set here. But you could just draw a shape here and cut it out with a craft knife, or use a punch, or whatever you want to make your window in here. So I want my circle to just sit in the bottom 2/3, and I'm just centering it by eye and going up probably about an inch or so, probably just over an inch from the bottom. And I'm just going to use a little bit of washi tape to stick that down, just because I don't want it to move around once I put it into the die cutter. And I will just bring my die cutter under here. Oops. And put it on, roll it through. This cardstock paper is just from the Maggie Holmes Sunny Days project pad that I have out at the moment. And it hasn't cut. I was just about to say, you're not going to need to run it through twice, but apparently you do. Just one moment, we're going back through. Okay, that was awkward. Okay, so since that I had that stuck on, that was really handy, because then I didn't lose the die or the place where I had it, so I could just run it straight back through. And I've just been collecting all these little circles because they'll be the perfect size to make something else later on. Okay, so you've got a hole, relatively centered, not quite, but it doesn't matter. Next you're going to need some vinyl. I've got this really thin vinyl that I found, but you could use a Project Life pocket, you could use acetate, you could use whatever plastic you can find, and you just want a double to fold it over so it covers, doubled over, covers that circle with a bit of a gap all the way around. So I'm just going to cut that down. This piece is about 4 1/4 inches tall by about 7 inches long, and then I fold it in half. So I tend to actually try and put my opening at the top just because I find that easier when I sew. So I'm going to stick that down like that, and then I am going to pop over to my sewing machine and sew, but I'm going to start here and finish about here. So I want to leave an opening at the top so I can pop my sequins in. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I started recording, but my mum called, so I've come back. I sewed from this side, so I started here and went around there. My aim was pretty spot on. I've just trimmed the plastic back a little bit because you don't want any extra plastic there, and then I've left this gap at the top, and so very awkwardly, because I don't know where my spoon is or anything else, I'm just going to pour some of the sequins mix in that little gap there. That'll be enough. And in typical me fashion, oh, that went through quite nicely. Okay, so I poured that in, and then what you're going to do, fill it up however much you want. I don't want too much. I'm just going to sew from here to here and then go around twice, but I'm actually not going to do that right now, but I will go and do that. I'm just going to, for the sake of continuity, I've already done that on this one. So I went and sewed. As you can see, I've got 2 messy circles around there, and my next little part that I'm going to do to decorate on these ones, I just try and do things quite similar so I can just not repeat, but just so I know that it sort of lays out all right and I'm happy with it. I'm going to make this little paper ruffle. So I have got one pre-made here, but I'm going to show you how to make it. There's another one. I've cut a strip of paper. I've just cut obviously just like the piece however tall this is. It's an offcut, and I've cut it about 7/8 of an inch long. And to do that, I start on one side and you just fold like a Z, not too straight because you want it to have a bit of dimension. Fold another Z, so you're pushing this like that, and then I go sort of decide, because I like this little flat bit on the top, come back and do another Z on that side. I'm sure there's like a name for that. And then I only want it to be about that long, so the length of it's up to you. Then I'm just going to cut these little fishtails in the end, however you want to do them. And then I for these ones I just sewed here and here, but for the other ones I sewed back and forth all the way along, so that's totally up to you. I'll just pop that aside, and now you just want to build up a wee stack of layers so that you can decorate that. So I'm just going to get a little bit of tulle. I added a little bit of tulle to the last one, so I'll just cut. Probably should have pre-cut. This stuff's painful to cut sometimes, so just cut a wee strip of that off this roll. I just liked how I layered this up on the last one, so just trim it down whatever size you want. This is just me decorating, just you decorate it up however you want, but I like this method, so I will show you what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to put 2 bits of that on there, and you're going to have to use probably a wet glue to stick that down. So I just use this clear tacky glue. I got this at the scrapbook show recently from a scrapbook shop here called Paper Buttons Love, and I absolutely love it. I'm really happy with it, and it's really good glue. It's the Elaine's clear tacky glue. And then I am going to use a little mixture I've got here of printables, or yeah, I've just got the printables here, but you can use this. I've got, use whatever you want from the collection. I'm like the size of these that I have cut down, and I'm going to stick this flower because I like putting a flower in the background, as you always know. And then I had one of these little swimming girls cut out, and I thought, well, I kind of got to do that with this paper in the background. So I'm going to do something like that. And then I just want to put a wee sentiment on there. So I quite like that summer vibes, but I feel like it may be a bit dark, so I think I'll go with that one. So I'm just going to leave that stuck on there, but I might put thinking I might put that in there just to bring out a bit more yellow. So let me just layer that up. So I'll put a bit more glue on here. It's obviously going to be wet, so I just need to be careful. And then I'm going to pop the flower up on some foam dots because dimension is key, apparently. No, I don't like too much dimension, but definitely need some dimension to sort of separate the layers. So I haven't actually glued that back bit down yet, but I will. So I put that on, stick that on. Then I put some more enamel dots on the back of this. Not enamel dots. Pop some foam dots on the back of this little girl, and she will go on there also. Somewhere. You could put some thread on there. You could put whatever you want on there. I'm just going to keep this one quite simple. The other ones I had like long threads hanging off the back, and I quite like that look because it just looks really messy and fun, but I'm just going to leave this one like this. Now I'm going to use tape to tape that back bit down just so it stays sticks straight away. So just pop that on there. Pull that off and put that in the bottom sort of corner. You don't want it too far down because we have to do the last bit, and I've probably actually made that a bit hard for myself, so I'm just pulling that off. I'm just going to stick this down first. It doesn't actually, it does matter. I'm so sorry. So let's just go back. You need to actually glue this shut first, so please just before you stick your element on there, which is why I did not glue it on in the first place, but should have just done this first, is you want to just stick the back shut. So you're going to glue along the bottom and then along the bottom here, and then down one side of that, and then just fold that over, stick it down. You could I usually just use a glue stick for this, but I didn't have one out, so I've glued that. And now what you want to do is I'm going to score it to make this kind of like ruffle, not ruffle, crimp, like a little chip packet. So, oh, not that. You want your scoreboard, and what I do is I line the end up right at the end, and then use the scoring tool, do the very first, which is 1/8 on that, and go and undo it a few times because you need to go through all the layers. Flip it over. On the next score line up, which is at 1/4 inch, you want to do the other one, and then flip it back over on the next one, which is 1/3/8 of an inch, and then flip it back over one more time and do the 1/2 inch. So this is how I make the crimp, and you can just go over the two that are facing that way, come back, go over those two, and that makes your little crimp without having to use like a crimper, and I think that looks pretty cute. And then while you are doing that, you can actually just do the other side as well, so just follow exactly the same rule. Push it right in, 1/8. This top section here though is not glued shut, but you need to do this now. We don't need to, but I like just doing it now so then you can just glue it shut later. So that's the 1/2 inch at the top and the bottom. Now, the reason we couldn't stick that down, because if we had stuck that down and I had not used my last minute thinking, it would have been really hard to get under there. I mean, it wouldn't have been impossible, but it would have been painful. So there we go, stick that down, nice and attached. And there is that. And then you just want to add, like, I like adding a little word sentiment. Like this one's actually quite cute, and I think I will go with this one. And just put it on some more foam. I'm gonna have to just cut these ones in half though, because it's a little bit narrow, so just spread them out. But you're probably just rambling now, but you might have to pop the end two up a little bit further than that front one, because that's going to sit on her. Okay, this one's not even going to get one, so just take it off. This is just a printable, so hopefully it is sturdy enough. I haven't backed it up or anything, so it's a little bit flimsy, but I do print on quite thick cardstock, so it should be alright. There we go, it's alright. I mean, you could flip that one right out, but there you go. So that is that decorated with my little cluster of embellishments down here. And then all you need to do, and I was just going to use these little pre-cut bits as an example. I mean, they're not even all cut out yet, but if you wanted to cut out some die cuts for your friend or share some pre-made die cuts, pop them in, and then all you need to do is put a little bit of glue or double-sided tape in here and shut it up, and there's a little packet, which I just called a chip packet, but it's almost like a little lolly bag. I know that there's a name and I just can't think of it, but I totally didn't come up with this idea. This is just my take on it. I will link the name of the lady. I feel like it's My Lovely Design, but I just can't remember. I'm having a mind blank and I don't want to take credit for this, so I will try and find your details. If I can't, I'll obviously update them, but you can fill them with whatever you want. They've got to stay quite flat because there isn't a lot of dimension inside them, but I do love how these have turned out, and they're super easy, and you could obviously do them in whatever theme you wanted. So I hope that this tutorial has been helpful to you. Feel free to ask any questions. Sorry that I jump around a little bit, but I'm just doing my best here. Okay, I hope it's been helpful. I hope you've got some inspiration, and don't forget to tag me if you make these so I can see what you've made. See you later. Bye.